So it's very hard to explain what Agile is, and it's even hard to start explaining it in 10 minutes, and I have only 10 minutes to set up the framework. So I'll be very quick, and I hope I will do everything needed for you to understand the discussion and engage in the discussion, because we're going to have some good examples of bad and good implementation. So as you've heard my narrative, I don't want to go through that. Agile nowadays is a mainstream. It's not avant-garde anymore. It's not something that happens in the software industry and something that we have to check, how it works and can we apply that in any other industry, because it's been checked and it works. And as you have in software development something called waterfall, which is a waterfall development, which is actually a sequential development, where you analyze, and then you design, and then you develop, and then you test only at the end, and then you find someone to blame if something didn't work previously. You have the very same thing in education development, in learning design development, which is called, does anyone know? EDI. Literally, analyze, design, develop, implement, and then evaluate. As a teacher, I can tell you it doesn't work. And I will go through the key pains of software development and education or learning design, because the key pain is precisely very the same. These are the companies that decided to go Agile. So this is Agile in business, Agile in the very, very commercial sectors. These people needed to change something at a certain point of time because they suffered from a loss of clients and something which is even worse than that, ruined products. And then from there, people took it to other industries, and you can see in the survey, this is the last year's survey, what are the industries actually? The software is still pretty much very high, but you have financial services. I can tell you insurance companies, they're getting crazy about Agile, especially for defining the products. Many companies that work with outsourced developers, they find it very useful, because the gap between the business or business ownership and the product definition and then development is huge. People don't talk. People don't understand each other. And you can see the same thing in education. Education is among them at a certain point. I can't see it right now, but I see government, for example. It's at 6%. What is the key pain, as I told you? And it's everywhere. It's not only in software development. It's in production. It's in education. It's in healthcare. The key pain is useless product, late delivery, and ruined clients altogether. Like it goes always together. And ruined students, maybe. But I would say also ruined teachers. And it's not, as I said, it's not about a couple of industries, it's actually about the world. So my point today is to go deeper into what an Agile movement is and what an Agile culture is actually, not only the movement, and how it applies to production, to software, to education, and name it. What do you see? You know this. Do you know this? Anyone seen this before? No? So it's the duck and a rabbit. I'd love to tell a story, but I don't have time. So what we do when we see something strange, which is a duck and a rabbit, but actually it's not a duck and it's not a rabbit, it's something different, is what Alice in Wonderland did in an excellent movie. We stare when objects behave in an unexpected way. We just stare at them. And that's what we do today. In education, not anymore so much in software, but in education, I dare to say that we basically stare at students, at study programs, at the learning outcomes, at how we connect with the enterprises and the labor market. And now I'm going to tell the story, and it will be the end of this framework. So I think this is my personal opinion, and it worked for me in implementation of Agile across the industries. It's all about information. And what happened in the development of a civilization is that we had two different paradigm shifts where we just stared. First one was when we passed from orality into literacy. So we stopped producing super hyper valuable information orally, running to transfer it into to someone that the information mattered. And we stopped seeing the world as a global thing because we couldn't actually analyze the information, write it down, go back to it and find it there. It was oral. Memory doesn't work like that. Memory fixes what can be fixed. And it's not perfect. Then when we switched between orality and literacy, we went into something that today doesn't work, but it worked for a couple of centuries, which is we were able to go find the phenomena, analyze the phenomena into the most, the deepest depths, go back to the surface, write down, go back again to the surface, and find the information there. So the information got fixed. And it was much easier for us to get isolated, to go into disciplines, into highly specialized sectors, silos. And you have it in businesses, and you have it in science, and you have it in education. We have very siloed departments. We have very siloed disciplinary science. We have very siloed sales, marketing, development. So it does resemble waterfall, like sequential, one by one. And what happens at the gaps? Information here was as well very valuable, but not so valuable as in the first phase. People could print it, it could be distributed quicker, and more people had access to it. And what happens nowadays, that's the second very huge paradigm shift, is that information got cheap. It's just cheap. It's a huge paradigm shift. It's everywhere. We can't get rid of it, actually. I don't know, how do you feel about getting notifications from all sorts of networks and applications? I don't feel okay. I manage, but it doesn't feel like something valuable. And schools don't look like, I mean, progressive schools. They are not with ex cathedra teaching and people just listening because information gets transferred. There's no one that knows everything. There's no one person that knows everything about one subject. So new shapes of schooling are like this. This is Finland. And while the world was super isolated, like totally split into smaller parts during the literacy phase, now we go back to global. We can go back to the surface and try to understand what happens at the global level. The only problem we have is we don't know how to communicate the knowledge we have. So we need to learn how to integrate the knowledge and how to learn bits and parts from other disciplines in a cross-functional settings. We can't work alone. We have to work with other people because knowledge is so complex and information is everywhere. And we have to be able to learn how what I know fits into what you know. And that's very hard. So basically, we are balancing between old paradigm and new paradigm. And sometimes it just confuses us. The time for this paradigm shift to happen fully is really long. It won't happen fully in our lives. But we can see some benefits of the old paradigm and benefits of the new paradigm. So that's why it's so confusing. Sometimes you think, okay, why are we doing this new stuff if the old one works well? Then you start the old one and then you say, no, this doesn't work anymore. We have to go to the new one. I won't go through this. You will have slides. There is a lot of paradigm pairs that you can establish. But one of them is very important, and it's the hierarchy thing, like command and control cultures. Whereas on the other side, you have inspect and adapt cultures, which are more double loop learning cultures. You make something, you check for feedback, you go back, you change it accordingly, and you repeat the loop. What does it mean to be agile then? First of all, it means culture. It means new paradigm. When you say new paradigm, you say new value system, new way of looking at the world, and new way of giving it a meaning. And the software industry did it very well, because they developed a thing called Agile manifesto, at the beginning of the development of Agile movement. And I want to go with you through these values. And if you don't remember anything else from this session, please do remember this. The first value is we value more individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So it's always better to have a good conversation on something than a process to follow and a tool to use, which is a bit awkward because what I'm wanting to talk about today is how you use a tool, which is a Kanban tool. But I will skip that. We can go through that afterwards in a discussion. The second one is we value more working software over comprehensive documentation, meaning I want to use my time to make something valuable as quick as I can because I need feedback on that. I need to know if I'm making something valuable because otherwise maybe I'm not. The third one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This one sounds awkward even for the businesses because normally when you sign contract, it's the culture of not precisely trusting the other part. And collaboration is based on trust. So totally different mindset. And it works, let me tell you, it does work, not always. Responding to change over following a plan, I think this one is evolutionary and easy understandable, but somehow we find it very difficult when we have to change because we are scared. If we don't know what we are changing into, then we get scared. This is based on 12 principles that I won't go into those because Claudia stands next to me, meaning it's over, but I'm almost done. The first one is very important. The first one says, whatever you do to delight the client, whoever your client is. Whatever you do, whatever your product is, you do it because you want someone to be delighted. This is one example of Agile manifesto in education. I mean two, not one. One made by me for a project I coordinated, and the other one is by another colleague presented at Agile India. And I need to go through this thing.
Last thing.
This. And I will end here. This one. What happened once when I looked for a company gaming industry that I wanted to define Agile principles for them, and I looked for experiences there, and I found this. A guy, programmer from Google, software developer, saying that the Agile implementation was awful, it's a nonsense, and there's an answer of a guy that invented one of the main structures in Agile, Jeff Sutherland. The structure is called Scrum. And he says something amazing for me, because I strongly believe that's the skill we need to develop nowadays in education and everywhere else. The last paragraph. He says, like, whatever you understood, as for Google, as long as they have one code branch for 15,000 developers and deploy multiple times a day for multiple products, they are Agile as far as I am concerned, no matter what they are doing. As long as they're having working software every day and don't tolerate developers who can't deliver it, I think that's awesome. So integration skills for the gaps. That's the main principle of Agile. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jasmina Nikolic, for introducing us to the Agile framework.